Okay. Yay!
Hi.
Hello! Welcome to the first live community gathering for the September course. My name is Mario Trigueros. I am so happy to be with you. I am the program manager for the Game Changer Intensive. I have had the pleasure of communicating or corresponding with some of you, and for the rest of you, it's very nice to meet you.
Hi, and I'm Tracy Apple. I work for the Pachamama Alliance. I've actually been involved since the beginning and have been very, very involved in the creation of this Game Changer Intensive and of the Awakening the Dreamer, Changing the Dream Symposium, which you have, I think, either attended a live one of or you've gone to the online course. So in any case, I'm thrilled. I love this stuff, and I love having a chance to be with you, even though it's not exactly in person. We wish we were all here in one big room and we could hug each other and look into each other's eyes. Instead, we're taking advantage of this excellent form of communication to reach out to people. And if you've read on the right-hand part of your column, you'll see we literally have people from all over the world. And I know that's some different time zones, so thank you guys for getting up early or staying up late. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Yeah, so this is one of two chances we'll have for everybody to be together. There are currently about 50 people on the call that will probably slowly climb up and then slowly trickle down. The next call is actually what closes the course on November 4th. The final live community gathering is where we wrap things up. So by now you have had two small groups. In addition, there are the discussion forums there, and to sort of wrap all of that up is the live community gathering. And these are the three pieces that really try to allow some collaboration and community to actually develop in an online environment. So, you know, you're here. It seemed like a good idea to start with.
I think a few of you have logged on to Module 3, so the rest of you have done the first two modules. Some of you put your toe in the water on Module 3. And the thing we wanted to mention about the course, I don't know about you, but sometimes I sign up for something because what they're offering just sounds exactly what I want for my life. That sounds wonderful. And I think I kind of expect it to just fall in a mantle on me because I love it, I'm aligned. And then you get to this course, and if you look at the summary of the coursework each time and what we call the Moodle, where all the coursework is, there's actually reading to this course, there are videos to this course, there's the invitation to actually type things into the discussion forums, your own ideas, response to others, there's your weekly small groups. So,
it's kind of intense.
Hey, let's call it the Game Changer Intensive. That's a great idea. So I think we're just saying the obvious here, that to get the value from the course, and we're proud of it, but we're proud of it mostly because so many of the people who've taken the intensive so far say, that was amazing. But part of what's amazing is when you actually engage with it. So I don't know how we can encourage you. Maybe you don't need the encouragement, but if you would just maybe put some time in your schedule each week to do the reading and watch the videos, you'll notice we've starred certain pieces which are like, look, if you're having a really busy week and you can only do a few things, do these with an asterisk. But you'll be missing quite a bit if you just do that. So this is our invitation and our imploring you to do whatever you can over this next 7 weeks to allow the time to participate fully. That's what we wanted to say.
I actually, to help with that, I put it in my calendars. That's what works for me. So if you're like me, these kinds of things that you want to do, but they compete with other things going on in your life, put them in your calendar. It's a great way to actually prioritize them.
One thing we wanted to say, a bunch of us are here on the Neuro website, so you can see us. You can see the chat. We'll tell you how to navigate. And some of us are on by phone. So either we couldn't get access to a computer or we didn't have a way to do it. And those of you who are on the phone on the live gathering, there will be times when we're doing interactive things on the screen. We'll be asking questions and people will be voting and telling us what they think and writing. During those times, you have a chance to practice a great deal of patience because you won't be able to see what's going on. But yeah, you could just hold us and love us. And, like I said, one more thing. This whole program tonight is being recorded and will be available to you to read all the chats, to watch the whole thing over again tomorrow. And those of you who are on the phone who aren't seeing it all, you can pick it up again tomorrow.
So now's a great time. If you have access to a computer, go to the course homepage and click the link so that you can actually use some of the interactive exercises that we're going to go to. So, if you've done the small groups, you know that we take opening sacred space pretty seriously. Whatever your relationship is to that word sacred, what this really is an invitation to arrive. This is really a chance for you to kind of disengage from whatever it took for you to get here.
Right.
You rushed here, you canceled plans, you put it on your calendar, you're sitting in front of your computer, you're got your phone to your ear. This is really a chance to embody yourself. It's an invitation to be present. And we actually have a really wonderful person who's going to open sacred space for us today. Her name is Cher Tanner, and she's a volunteer moderator for the September course. So Cher, I pass it on to you to open sacred space for us. Thank you, Cher. Really appreciate all of your effort in this Game Changer Intensive, and really appreciate you opening sacred space for us.
Let's take a look at what we can accomplish tonight, what we're intending to accomplish in this, what we call a live community gathering. The purpose of the live community gathering, and I think we're going to put it up on the screen for you to see, it's to provide a forum for Game Changer Intensive participants to experience themselves as a community, engaged in doing the inner and outer work needed to change the dream of the modern world and to change the game and the cultural story underpinning it. So that's what we've come together to be and to do. And tonight, we'll go over the agenda in just a minute, but there are a couple things we want to point out. This intensive has two main thrusts to it, and what we refer to as the inner journey and the outer journey. And both are really part and parcel of what it means from our point of view to be an effective game changer. There's the work on ourselves to be kind of up to this moment in time, up to who we want and need to be. And in Module 1, you had some pretty empowering ideas and thoughts and lists there to help in that area. But then there's also the real world out there. The real world which we say has a dream that we're living in, that we're committed to changing. And I think the tip we want to give you is if you find that you just love the part when we're talking about ourselves and who we're being and our perspectives in the world, that's the part you just love. Well, here's a little warning bell. There's going to come a time, probably around Module 5, when the focus is going to be quite on the external world. And if you notice yourself getting uncomfortable, congratulate yourself on noticing that you're uncomfortable, but don't use it to pull yourself away. At the same time, you may have come to this course, sleeves rolled up, I'm ready to go out there and change the game, and we're starting out in a little bit of a different way. We're saying, great, let's definitely change the game, but let's look at who is the changer, and who and how do we need to be effective game changers. So we just kind of wanted to underline that aspect of the course. Tonight in particular, we designed this call, given that we aren't going to break into small groups and we can't really see each other's faces. Really the point of most of the rest of the call is for you to get a sense of the intensive here, but also of one another. So you're going to have chances to hear from each other through that chat on the right, some polls, but it's really to experience ourselves as community. So let's just look if we can get the agenda overview up there. Briefly, this is how we'll spend our time, and it's very possible, by the way, we won't go the full 90 minutes. It's our intention to end sooner than that, so you'll have extra time to go to work on Module 3. But anyway, thank you for holding the 90 minutes in your schedule. So here's what we're doing. We've done the welcome, the opening sacred space. In a minute, Mario will let us know how to use what's called this neuro technology, how you actually navigate the site. We'll revisit how is this intensive put together, and contextually and content-wise. You know, what's the logic behind this intensive? Maybe you have a sense of it from reading about it, and maybe you have a sense just from the modules we've done. But we'll give you a little bit of an overview of where we're going on this journey. And who are we? We want to look a little bit more at who are the people who have joined this intensive with you. This is the 9th time we've ever offered the course. Who are the elements, the people in Game Changer Intensive number 9? We'll display yourselves back to you the best we can. And we'll be doing some polls, some chats. We'll tell you a little bit more about the course itself. If we have time, we'll handle any open, you just might have a burning question. You don't know where to ask it or who to ask it of. We'll leave time at the end of the call tonight so you can ask us, and then we'll complete and release you to Module 3, Evolutionary Activism.
Cool. So before we go any further, let me give you a quick little orientation to where you're at right now. That's, Tracy mentioned neuro. So just so you can get the fullest experience possible, I want to make sure you know how to use it. So first off, again, for those of you who are on the phone, thank you. We're so glad that you're here. What I'm about to talk about are what the people on computers are actually looking at. So on your screen, up at the top right is kind of a floating chat box. And if you click that chat box, it'll open up the ability to interact with each other. You can actually chat with each other and post things up there. A good chunk of you already have. There is a way to raise your hand, and I love the question, what's up with the person in the car seat? That's to raise your hand to get attention. We're actually not going to use that piece. The only piece that we're going to use tonight is the chat log. The chat log is really where we'll actually create a space for you to engage with each other and to answer some questions. So I think that's all I have to say about the neuro thing. You'll notice it kind of hangs in the screen. You can drag it by moving that plus sign and moving it off to the right a little bit.
What's the it? Dragging what?
The little chat window thingy that you should see on your screen. I will say the chat is a wonderful opportunity to engage with each other. So really invite you to use it. You know, again, we often say, it doesn't have to be Pulitzer worthy, but engage. This is an opportunity to engage, and we invite you to do so. So the other thing that you're going to see are polls. And we're going to start our first one. The way polls work is you're just going to see something on your screen. We're going to ask you a question. There will be several answers available to you. You'll pick one, and then you'll actually see the results of everybody else. So let's start with our first poll. For those of you on the phone, I'm going to narrate what we're seeing. So poll number 1, you'll see pop up on your screen momentarily. So pretty basic one, easy. Let us know if you prefer sunny days, prefer rainy days, or you don't pay attention to weather. Overwhelmingly, people are so predictable. They love sunny days. I know a few who love the rainy ones. There are 2 among you here. This is just to get comfortable, just to get yourself familiar with how this actually works. So we are at about 60 participants, and about almost 27% of you prefer sunny days.
Now, if you haven't made your entry into the poll, could you either do it now or make a little note in the chat telling us that you can't do it? Because we actually want to make sure you understand how it works. So we'd like to see everybody tell us about your weather preferences. Obviously, that's not the point here, but if you're not able to figure out how the chat works, how this poll works, how you actually vote, could you just make a little note in the chat and we'll help you out with that?
Cool. Yeah, so let us know in the chat, and let's actually try our first field poll. This is poll number 2. You're going to see it on your screen momentarily. The question for this one is that this is actually a yes-no one, pretty straightforward, and the prompt is, this is my first online course. This is my first online course, yes or no? This is my first online course, and so far about 75% of you say no, that you have taken an online course before, and about 26% of you say that this is your first time. That number is fluctuating as people respond, but for those of you who this is your first online course, I especially salute you. Congratulations for entering the brave new world of online learning. It's a different experience.
That's for sure.
It's definitely new. Really hope that it's working for you. Let us know if there's any way that we can support you. And keep in mind that your small groups are a great way of grounding this online experience and really making it come alive and real. Wonderful. Very, very cool. So again, the one little thing to note, I love that chat logs are being used. You can see people engaging with them. We're going to balance this sort of using it with also focusing on the questions that we bring forth. Very cool. So what is up with the intensive? What is the arc of it? Where are we going? Where have we started? This next section, we wanted to talk to you a little bit about the intensive in general. So, Tracy, I think, put it really well. There are two tracks of the intensive in some way, 2 thrusts of it. One really deals with this personal development, personal world, and actually the Pachamama Alliance has been really good at that historically. And the other half is with that personal transformation, how do we engage in the systems and structures that we actually live in? So sometimes, I've certainly felt like if we just change our consciousness, if we all elevate ourselves, surely the world will move with us. What we're finding is that we actually need to move the world with us. There are some organizing and some key movements that we can get involved in. So the intensive can be thought of as those 2 elements. And we're going to bring up a slide breaking up those 7 modules. We got 7 weeks of this material. You've gone through 2 so far. The first one is the introduction to game changing. This really lays the framework and foundation for how we see this issue. We exposed you to the 10 qualities of a game changer. We talked about the need for collective action. And importantly, one of my personal favorites, the principles of spiritual leadership, really laying the groundwork for what we're about to address. Last week, we covered the power of story. In some ways, the whole thing is about the power of story. What is the reality that we're living in? How does it inform how we perceive everything around us? The power of story is key. That moves us to what was introduced yesterday, evolutionary activism. So if the power of story sort of empowered us to challenge this reality and this story that seems like simply what is, evolutionary activism is one of the newer emerging stories. It proposes the potentially provocative idea that human beings actually have a role to play in the evolution of life on Earth. A provocative idea, can't wait to see what you think of it. So at about this stage, we're getting ready to move to the systems and structures, but it's really crucial to make sure that we can actually sustain ourselves. So the last module in this sort of area of the course is what we call a case for grounded optimism. Now, grounded optimism doesn't mean a Pollyanna rewriting of history with just a positive blush on it. This is actually making a stand for what is possible, truly empowering ourselves so that we have a clear vision for the direction that we're going. We're not only working against, we're working toward, and crucially, that we actually invest time and energy in highlighting our victories and our successes. That will ensure that we're actually sustained proactivists, in for the long haul. After Module 4 is when we pivot to the systems and structures that surround us. We start with what we call the rigged game. This really dives into the systems and structures that are really intransigent and reproduce over and over again the inequalities that we see. We take two examples to really pull apart. One is race, the other is money and politics. There are actually others to do. Money and politics is actually going to become a lot more relevant later. But this really examines those systems and structures, and that takes us to Module 6, Game-Changing Movements. We've identified two key movements that if we can all sort of bring our attention and energy to, they can be the meeting point for all of our interests: democracy and climate change. More on that in Module 6. And we close with going forth in Module 7. This is really about building a plan, solidifying your community, and finding a way to take the next steps into action and moving forth. All the while, you're sort of dancing between a personal exploration. We'll have somatic exercises and reflection exercises throughout, while looking at the external world, really trying to blend and integrate the personal and the political or the cultural, so that they're actually integrated in each of us.
That's great. Thanks, Mario. So in a minute, we're going to do another poll. But at first, I want to just comment that this theme of story, which we've just finished the module called The Power of Story, just pay attention to it throughout the intensive, if you would. There's your personal story, which I noticed on the discussion forums, many of us were writing about our personal stories. Then there's the story that the media and our culture generates out there. And then there's the kind of mega story of our times. And we use the word story in these three different ways. And just pay attention as we go to which story is moving through you or you responded to at any one time. We wanted to ask a question here, and we're going to do it by doing a poll, how your small groups are going. This is a small meeting groups, your phone conference calls with a bunch of strangers. You should have had a couple by now.
Yep,
two calls by now. All right, so here's the questions. Please vote. Regarding your small meeting group, choice 1, love them, the best part so far. Second choice, they're fine, glad you've done it. Next one is, disappointing. Next choice is, I have had major tech problems. And the last choice is, what small groups? So, and while people are voting, can we just share with you that this was maybe one of our biggest surprises during this intensive, during the whole creating the intensive, is how people tend to love these groups. I mean, we're not in them, so we don't really have a hands-on experience, but what we hear the report backs from people when they finish their intensive, a large number of people say it's their absolute favorite part. Getting a chance to connect with people, like-minded souls, maybe in Norway, maybe in New Zealand, maybe in New York, maybe in Nebraska, but something can't, I won't say it always does, there's a potential and a possibility in these small groups for you to really connect. We've had some small groups keep meeting. They don't care if the intensive's over, they're not over. Mm-hmm. So they keep meeting. And I remember when there was the climate change going from California to the East Coast, one small group, they got on the train, you know, oh, well, I'll jump out of Colorado. And anyway, they all did the climate march together. So just want to point out, so here we have 60% of the people say they're glad to be participating. 30% say they love them already. You've only had 2. Wait till you keep following up with everyone. And for those of you, you know, sometimes they are disappointing. And you know what? One of the most disappointing things is when people don't show up. So you may not be able to make all your calls. That's okay, but we really do ask, request, almost beg you. Could you just let the group know in advance if you won't be on the call? Because somehow it's just really disheartening when someone can't be there. Even though it's fine to not be there, just communicate if you would be willing.
Lorraine Cook actually mentioned something in the chat, which is really cool. Lorraine organized a group of people in her community to meet weekly. So this is something you may consider for future courses, to organize a group of people in your town, your city, to take it face-to-face. It's a really incredible experience, and one we're really excited to be supporting with.
Something to say about that, you know, Lorraine and her group are kind of on the cutting edge. This intensive is not that old, and it, you know, they're trying this out, this idea. And as people who are involved in the Game Changer Intensive, kind of in its beginning years, there's a lot of room for your creativity, your suggestions, trying things out. So just wanted to officially let you know we're very, very open to you trying things out and certainly letting us know. So, okay, let's take a look now, if we can, with some graphics on who are the people in the Game Changer Intensive number 9, as we refer to you. So let's start with a slide. And again, phone people, use your imagination here. These are actual photographs.
This is you, beautiful you.
This is people who have actually taken the intensive. Some of them are people who are in it right this minute.
So this is a little mosaic of, I don't even know how to describe it, dozens of pictures of people who have posted a picture on their profiles. So this is actually, if you haven't done this yet, there is a way to post a picture of yourself on the profile. If you click orientation on the homepage, it'll help you do it. It's a great way of sharing, kind of putting a visual to the connections that people are making.
So that's what some of us look like. Okay, next slide, please. All right. At the very beginning, I'll say something.
Yes, go for
At the very beginning, when you quote-unquote applied or registered for the course, we asked you to tell us a little bit about why are you taking this thing? And then Mario, why don't you say what happened next?
So this is a word cloud. We put all of your applications or statements about why you wanted to take this course into a system. And these are the most commonly appearing words that you said informed why you took the intensive. And we can see some of the things, you know, I mean, these are, as I look at this, powerful, you know, world, work, change, community, participate, learn, people. These are the most used words that people had in their applications. And so we can see lots of overlap of people I would say, working together to change the world.
Yeah, and Steph says, where's the word love? I don't know, I didn't write the applications, you guys did. So apparently wasn't one of the things that drove you to this
intensive. See love between learn and time. Love's in there.
All right, so a couple people were doing it.
It's blooming.
All right. Great. Okay, next slide, please. And again, we're not just kind of wasting time here. We want you to feel who's in your community. This is the community that's going to change the game with you. You aren't alone. We aren't alone. Here's who's playing with you.
All right. So here's some participant metrics of some a little more detailed information about it. So 303 people are actually participating, engaging with this particular course, and over 60% of them are over 45.
Yes.
which means I am the youngest group of Game Changer Intensive. So over 60% of you are over 45, and the biggest group is between 55 and 64. We got about a quarter of everybody is in that age group of 55 to 64. Interestingly, we got about 22% of people in the, what we might consider young people, 18 to 34. So I think that's actually a growing proportion of people in the intensive. Course over course, we're finding more and more young folks engaging in this material. And very, very clearly, people 45 and above, very strongly represented and interested in engaging in this material. You want to talk about gender?
I do, and it's just a total coincidence that I happen to participate in the gender that is at 69% of the people in the course. So yeah, for some reason, women tend to sign up for the intensive. We've got 69% female, 31% male, and that's up. The male statistic is up in GCI 9. So welcome, you guys. Love it that you're here.
Cool.
Next slide, please.
So, the intensive has, it's increasingly becoming popular internationally. Definitely we see about 3/4 of people come from North America, and that includes Canada and Mexico. We got about 10% of those total people engaging from Europe, about 6% from Asia, 3% from Latin America. So, increasingly we're seeing people from across the world, 5% from Oceania, Australia, New Zealand, which is a pretty significant number of people. Actually have a really active group in Australia right now. So increasingly the intensive has an international flavor.
And I guess I want to both apologize to those of you outside of the US and acknowledge you simultaneously. We did design a curriculum to be as focused as we possibly could on changing the game here in the US. So we're using examples, particularly when we get to the movements that are here, right here, and that people can participate in. And so those of you in other countries are needing and have needed to in the intensives to translate some of this into your cultures. We actually had no idea if this would be of any use to people in other cultures. And I have to say, we've been delighted to hear people from all around the world say, no, this is great. I mean, really, there's been phenomenal participation from outside of the States. So thank you guys. And you really are willing to adapt it and have it, make it powerful within your culture and in your society. So again, thanks for hanging in here.
Let's go to the next slide. So within the US, here is the distribution of people that are arriving. Strong representation on the West Coast, up and down from Washington down, and then scattered throughout the eastern seaboard. Interestingly, a strong pocket in the Midwest, so we can see a pretty wide distribution across the country, and eventually what we'd really love to see are people actually taking this in groups the way Lorraine's is, face-to-face, and really bringing out the issues that are relevant to their particular community.
Okay, next.
So this next section are, these are quotes, right? These are quotes from applications?
Literally from the applications. And a couple of you are saying that the sound is going in and out, and the technology may not be exactly perfect on this call. Again, reminder, the entire thing will be available to you tomorrow if you can't read it or if you can't hear. So anyway, this is, somebody said, why did they join the intensive? One of your colleagues said, because they're looking for community and hope.
This one, delighted to be inspired and to inspire.
I hope to be inspired, energized, and informed.
I want to know how to make the biggest impact. These are all your words of why you're taking the intensive.
I want to learn more about how to co-create a better world.
I've been feeling hopeless about the world my grandkids are inheriting. Great. So, so many different perspectives we're bringing into this. Future generations, past generations, hopelessness, hope, such a complex web of different things that we're grounded in that we're bringing forth.
Another way to get to know each other, besides those demographics, is to read what people say about themselves in the poll. So here's another poll for you. How would you describe your situation? And it'll be on the screen in just a minute. You'll have a chance to click. And your first choice is going to be, I feel isolated and I'm looking for community. Or you may want to click, I mostly relate to world issues online.
It's coming up. Don't worry. It's coming up. It'll be here shortly.
You could just listen to the choices. So it's number one, I feel isolated and I'm looking for community. Another is, I mostly relate to world issues online. Another choice is, I have a couple of people I can work with. Or the final choice is, I am part of a community and we're actually engaged in taking on issues. So isolated mostly online, couple of people, or in community. How would you describe your current situation? And so we've got 9 people so far. Okay, 24. See if you could just get yourself to click here. This is all ways to participate and be known by one another.
So about 38% of you said you're part of a community taking on issues already, and about equally distributed beyond that. So pretty strong contingent of people who are already engaged locally. Very, very cool. I've said this already, make sure to invite your community to take this together in some ways. There's no better way of keeping this alive and strong in you than having people around you who are engaged in the same thing. Cool. Very good. So it's stabilizing at about 42% of people who are in community. Awesome. So we'd love to share even more about what you're actually saying right now. So we've taken some excerpts from the discussion forums, and you've had 2 weeks of discussion forums. The first week, open to everybody. We talked about Bill, a couple of other things. Week 2 was the power of story. So we've taken some excerpts.
And let me explain. You don't have access to seeing the entire course's responses to the discussion forums. We tried that at first, where everybody got to see what everyone wrote. It was just overwhelming. You just couldn't read 300 people's responses to everything. So you're in a group, and about how many people?
About 50 to 60 people.
Okay, so you're reading about 50 or 60 people, but you might have missed some of these little nuggets, so we thought we'd share a few with you. Again, the point, why are we reading these to you? So you can get a better sense of who are your co-game changers? What are they thinking? What's on their mind? How is the course landing for them? You can start.
Great. So here's one from somebody who is actually a volunteer moderator. Here's a reminder to myself. If I call the game rigged, that will either inspire me, and I'll say I need to work with others to chop out the diseased root of the rigged game, or it will leave me a victim, and I'll say, well, the game is rigged, nothing to do. This choice is one I face all the time. Responsibility or no responsibility for the way things are.
Boy, I think that's well said. That is
that.
Well said.
I love it.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Okay, this is from Module 1, considering Bill's message on the rigged game. Somebody said, I was glad to hear Bill talk about getting to the roots, which is not something many people seem to realize at this point. But to change a system, you have to work from where it starts, not just the consequences.
Here's another one. I think it'll be a massive job to unrig the game. That said, I love Bill Twist's segment. He encourages us that we can do anything if there are enough of us networked and working together.
Okay, and then there was another discussion forum in the first module, and it was on the principles of spiritual leadership. Those principles by Will Keepin. Here's what one person said. He said, I see the principles as weaving a wholeness in which each is essential. In a given moment, one may come to the fore, but it is still entangled with the whole. I see it like building an arch to cross a chasm, joining together the separate sides of the gap. Which stone in the arch is most important? Without any one of the stones, the arch collapses. That's a poetic group we have here. That's great.
I love this one. It's a quote I actually really appreciate.
Power of story.
This is the power of story, yes. The quote is, "They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds." And Cheryl said, I don't know who first said this, but I think it's a powerful example of rewriting the story.
And then we invited you, and this is kind of hard, and not that many people did it, is to take a story that has got a grip on you, that, you know, it just seems true to you, and create a new one, and see what happens to you. And here's somebody said, for a long time I've been feeling overwhelmed and despondent about the terrible things going on in the world. The destruction of the environment, the wars and violence, the greed of the elite, and the mass poverty at the other end of the spectrum. I kept asking myself, how can one small person do anything meaningful about all this? Now, I have changed my story to one of hope. I see many, many people waking up to what is going on in the world and to what is needed to change it. I can play my part in this. I can write. I can speak to anyone I encounter to help bring awareness to the issues.
Cool. Do you have another one?
Yeah, then again, most of you have not yet gone into Module 3 yet, but somebody who did has already posted, and he had this to say about this idea that Thomas Berry says, which is the great work of our time, that we all are involved in the great work of our time. And he says, I think we should all feel blessed and inspired that this is the most exciting time in human history, and that we are present to witness and shape where the human species is headed in this time of great change. So really, one of the most fun things about this intensive was getting to know you guys. That there are this many committed, intelligent, big-hearted, spiritually connected people who are open and searching and ready looking for one another. So yeah, it is a blessing. I totally agree.
So let's have our first formal chat question for the day. So this is a question that you will post your answer to on the little chat log. So give it a moment and then go ahead and engage with it. You're going to actually post it right on the chat. So you're going to see a slide come up momentarily. The question, though, is what's the most encouraging thing in the news these days from your point of view? What's the most encouraging thing in the news these days from your point of view?
And you'll write it right in that little box next to the blue F, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and obviously you don't have to write chapter and verse, but like we want to get just a feel for this group of people, for these game changers, what is it that really has us kind of wild and crazy right now of the good news? So what do we love?
Well, it's a presidential season, and the certain Bernie Sanders is really trailblazing it, so that's landing, and of course the Pope.
The Pope.
The Pope. Shell leaving Alaska and abandoning their Arctic drilling.
Building small homes for the homeless and mentally ill in North Carolina.
More Bernie Sanders. I didn't expect this. I am totally inspired. This is so much to actually celebrate. The emergence of more caring politicians like Bernie Sanders and Jeremy Corbyn. Germany taking in 800,000 refugees. Yeah.
So great.
And here's what I love. It's moving faster than I can keep up. Low stopping sales of actually, what is that? I don't know about this one. Neonicotinoids.
Yeah, we like it too. What is it?
I have to Google
Help us out
one.
here. Anyway, reminder, this is going to be available to you tomorrow. So this is a tool for you. You're going to have like 30, 40, 50 examples of exciting things that if there are times when you start seeing the gloomy side of the world, you can remind yourself of this side.
Thank you for educating me on what neonicotinoids are. Bee-killing pesticides. The indigenous people of Ecuador marching in Quito. So true. Really amazing things. Thank you for this, actually. So we're actually going to do another poll right now. Not so much right now? Okay, so this poll is something that actually evokes what comes up to you when we kind of think of activism. So in terms of activism, what's true for you?
Okay, so it'll appear on the screen in a minute, but here's the question. When we talk about activism, where are you with regard to that? So
There are 5 options. The first option is I'm a longtime activist. The next option is I've been involved with some causes. Third option, I care a lot but don't have time. Fourth is I'd like to but don't know what to do. And the fifth option is something else. So 5 options, the question being in terms of activism, what's true for you? And from what I can see, about 48% of people have been involved with some causes, and about 27? About 30% of people are longtime activists. That's actually a pretty big percentage.
you know what I love is that none of these game changers say, I care a lot, but I don't have time. I mean, I don't think you could say that with most groups of people. I think most people would say, I care a lot, but I don't have time. So I'm really interested that we fall in these other categories.
Cool. We got about 8% of people who say they'd like to but don't know what to do. About 16% of people, actually, did I get those wrong? I haven't seen myself as one. Oh, 8%, gotcha. And I don't know what to do being at 16%. Cool.
So let's take another look at it by doing a chat. And Ariel, we're changing our order here. Hopefully we're not messing you up here. But can we get chat number 3? Chat number 2, which is, now listen to the question, because on this one you're not going to check a box. You're going to actually write a sentence maybe. And this is the question. Is there a difference for you between activism and being in action? So for you, what's the difference between being in action and activism? Just take a minute, if you would, and see what comes up for you when you think of that.
The slide that came up is not the one we want you to answer. So again, this is going to be something you're going to put in the chat logs. Is there a difference between activism and being in action? Thank you.
Okay. And Shara, thanks for pointing out wrong slide, and afterwards Ariel can shoot us for changing the game here in the middle of thing, but this seems like this would be a good one to do now. Is there, for you, because some people have a real thing, like, yeah, I want to be in action, but no, I'm not going to be one of those people. What is it for you? Is there a stigma for activism, or is that the only way things get done from your point of view? Let's see what our group wisdom offers here.
I don't think I've seen this number. We've asked this before, and I don't think I've seen this number of people say that they are the same thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Activism is a long-term state of being that includes actions. Very interesting. So, I mean, in some way, this is a word, we brought this question up because sometimes people are a little triggered by what activism actually means. You know, for some of us, and now 30% of you are actually long-term activists or have been involved in something or other. And so we're really trying to have you explore what does activism or being in action mean? And to note that part of what we're proposing is to be involved in movements. And for some people that immediately triggers, well, that's an activist, I'm not an activist. I don't want to be in, you know, marching in the streets or whatever it may be. We're talking about being in action in movements. So however that sort of grows and lands for you, that's what we want you to explore.
And I just want to, I really do encourage you to read the chats, not now, because if you keep reading them now, you'll miss the next part of our call. But go back and read them, because there's some real wisdom in the group. And thank you all for your kind sharing your answers to this question.
Okay. So we are going to take a little bit of a deeper look at the intensive. Really, you know, why? What's the point? We've already gone through the 7 modules of the course. We've talked about integrating, you know, the personal transformation that a lot of us have done in our lives and the political action that some of us clearly have done, but we're really trying to integrate them. So all of you to get here have taken the Awakening the Dreamer, Changing the Dream Symposium. And the idea of that is really to kind of wake you up to the reality of what's going on and what's possible. The intensive, the reason why it's what we call a prerequisite, or we really want you to take it first, is that the intensive builds on the principles in the symposium. And importantly, it deepens the sort of analysis around them and gets you in community and gives you some action and direction of possible places to get involved collectively, really acknowledging that it's one thing to wake yourself up. It's crucial, also difficult to stay awake, and even more difficult to transform the systems and structures that will sort of over and over again put you to sleep in some way, get you back into what we call the trance of that traditional story.
And if I could just say a little bit about our history, and when I say our, I mean the Pachamama Alliance, which is the organization that created both Awakening the Dreamer and the Game Changer Intensive. You know, we created the symposium, and for maybe the first 5 or 6 years, we got tremendous feedback. People loved it. People felt woken up. They're finally, for the first time, addressing some of the issues in the world that they really hadn't, had been too daunting to look at, or they had looked at them and they're so depressed they couldn't get out of bed in the morning. So people loved the Awakening the Dreamer, Changing the Dream Symposium as a way to wake up. We then got feedback from people, and then noticed, really I'd say even more than the feedback, was when Bill Twist, one of the founders, was noticing that if you are committed to the mission of the symposium, which I'm going to remind you right now, it's bringing forth an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, socially just human presence on the planet. If we're really serious about that, and we finish the symposium, we are, get up early and stay up late, and I'm devoted to this in my life. At some point, you have to realize you can't get up early enough and stay up late enough to really turn that thing around. It's not an individual thing that a bunch of committed individual people are going to be able to pierce. So it was kind of like a moment of truth for us at the Pachamama Alliance, that we realized there's actually something standing in the way. There's a barrier to that dream we're all so deeply committed to. And it has to do with the way the thing is set up. It's just set up in a way that unless we're willing to address that there is systemic injustice, there is, to say we're committed to this other future, it just started to feel a little inauthentic. And I have to say, it took a while to really grapple with this. It's like, wait, I didn't know we were into that kind of work. I thought we were just about transforming ourselves. Well, no. And you who've joined this intensive, some of you maybe have known this your whole lives. I'd say as an organization, we've caught up with you then. And for all of us who are in this intensive, this is about being maybe grown up enough to understand that just our big heart and our goodwill is not necessarily going to save the day at this time in history, that it's going to take a systemic shift, and that happens out of community, that happens out of relationship, that happens out of the people who are writing these chats and with the people in your community. That's our work. So, the intensive really is a follow-on to the Awakening the Dreamer, Changing the Dream, and I just wanted to give that frame for it.
And, we ground it in 2 movements, democracy and climate change. And we get a lot of questions of, why those? Climate change, people resonate with a little bit more. I mean, this is the urgent question and issue of our time. But democracy, why democracy? When we're talking about democracy, and I have to say, if you haven't watched Bill's video yet in the intro, I think he actually says it beautifully. But to reinforce, our commitment to democracy doesn't negate us being involved in other things. It doesn't negate us getting involved in stopping the XL pipeline, or stopping fracking, or getting an incredible mayor elected in your town. It happens in conjunction with them. And to build, it's sometimes easier for us to talk about sort of evolving our consciousness, and that if we evolve our consciousness, this will naturally bring the institutions, will pull the institutions with us. In addition to that, getting involved in democracy is actually where all of those different sort of arenas of consciousness raising and political action can converge. So if you're into, getting rid of, overturning racism, if you're into dealing with economic inequality or fracking or whatever it is, working on democracy so that there is actually a structure in place that is a match for where humanity is going, that's where we can intersect, and that's where we can meet. It's not exclusive of other things. It's where we can all meet and hold space.
So, so we really are inviting you, in this intensive, each one of you, to in some way take on democracy, in addition to all the other amazing things you're already working on in the world. And it's pretty clear who this group is. And you don't have to take us up on the invitation, but we're really serious about it. We really are. That if you want to work on something that has a chance of having a huge leverage for change in our society, it would be working in some way, and you can find a way that works for you, in the movement to create a true democracy. So, we'll spend some time on this topic in Module 6. You can spend the rest of your life studying it if you wish, but I just, sometimes people say, well, no, I'm really happy with working in my community garden. Well, bless you. Thank God you're doing the garden. And we just want to be straight up with you. We'd like to invite you to also put some of your energy, time, creativity into having us have true democracy. So, cool. Just wanted to be upfront about all that. Shall we move on?
Yes.
This is a good time actually to talk about, do you remember from the introductory video, I think, we talked about the stretch zone. So I want to highlight that little piece and say that I hope and pray that you spend a fair amount of time in the next 7 weeks in your stretch zone. And just to remind you of what we said in that first video, there's our comfort zone. Any one of us has that place where we feel comfortable. We might even feel noble, and we might feel evolved because we've been working ourselves our whole life. Okay, I've got a great comfort zone. And then there's that place out there called the panic zone, which is, no, I can't. I won't. I can't. Not me. No. Even if the whole world needed me to do it, I couldn't do that thing. In this course, I promise we will never ask you to go to your panic zone. But I just do want to remind you that between your comfort zone and the panic zone is the space we're calling your stretch zone. Your stretch zone. All change takes place in the stretch zone. All transformation takes place in your stretch zone. Nothing happens when we stay in our comfort zones. So at any point in the course, if you could need to stretch, well, I didn't like her tone of voice in my small meeting group, or I don't like that color shirt Tracy's wearing, or why do we have to read that thing, or that video was lame. If you can consider that, oh, I'm in my stretch zone, we heartily encourage you to use that tool for yourself as you go through.
And not to overstate that, but it doesn't show up as an exciting sort of teachable moment for yourself. It shows up as discomfort. It shows up as judgment. And get me out of here. The invitation here is really to settle into that. What emerges when you allow that to happen, when you don't run away, but allow yourself to move through it. Let's see what happens. The worst case scenario is you don't like something and it's confirmed that you don't like it. And there's the possibility of you transforming as well.
Okay, we're going to have a chat number 4, Ariel, if we could. Here's a question. This is, are you willing to answer this question in public right before your fellow game changers? And this is really for you to know about yourself. But what would you, or what do you need to do to put yourself in your own stretch zone in this intensive? So let me just say it again. In order for you to put yourself in a stretch zone here, what do you need to do? This is kind of like notes to yourself. What would it take for you? For you, because it'll be different. Mari and I would take different things. So for all of us, it'll be different. So just, if you would, in the chat, a couple words, a sentence or two. What do you need to do to put yourself in your stretch zone during the Game Changer Intensive? Okay, put the time aside to do the homework. Publicly make promises for actions as the intensive goes on. That's a beauty. Produce and lead fundraising events for the Hunger Project, for anything that you believe in, absolutely.
I'm stretching now, however I believe I can stretch more, i.e. stand up and speak. Meditating helps me put myself in the stretch zone.
Haha, how about this one? Writing in this chat might put you in your stretch zone. It's like, oh, I don't like this chat. I'm not going to answer this chat. No, that's a stretch zone. That's what I'm talking about. Can you do it anyway?
Give up judgment. Wow. Accept responsibility for making change. Get into more action. Start a Conscious Elders Network group in Tampa Bay. If you haven't heard of the Conscious Elders Network yet, you will soon. They're doing incredible work. Do it, Stacy says.
That's wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we'll do one more chat now, if we could.
Cool. So,
Number 3, Ariel.
So this is, I think this is the last chat of the day. So really thinking and pondering, how are you going to take what you've learned from the course out into the world? How are you taking what you've learned from the course out into the world?
So this isn't, we're actually not talking about the future. We're talking about so far. And if we ask this question in 2 weeks, you might answer differently. But so far, how are you taking what you've learned from the course out into the world? So, and part of the reason we're doing it is so you could take stock. Part of it is so that you can inspire other people. Part of it might be for you to realize, I'm kind of not so much. I'm waiting until the thing's over. Any answers are fine. But how are you taking what you've learned from the course out into the world so far?
Julia said she's posting on Facebook stuff about the course. I actually have, and somebody wrote me today, was it okay to blog about what her experience is? Some people are writing about it. Connecting it with my local Pachamama group, cool. Getting mindfulness into an elementary school, wow. Hello, Hania. Sharing in my community. I've been working on a new book that touches on so many of these topics, researching people and moving so quickly I couldn't keep up.
That's wonderful.
Awesome. And again, like Tracy said, these are going to be available tomorrow, so I encourage you to revisit these. They are wonderful.
Thank you, guys, and thanks for being part of a moving target here. You know, our goal would be to have that chat just popping. And if we were to meet every week, we'd find new ways to answer that question. And we hope you use your small meeting groups as a way to share. You could use the discussion forums. I don't know if you've discovered the Great Stuff. Is that a, what do you call it? Great Stuff button?
Yep. A button.
A button.
On the right-hand side.
On the right-hand side on the home page, there's a place for you to just post anything you think we all should know about, everyone in the whole intensive. So, you know, if you just found a way to share about story in a way you want the whole intensive to know, you can go press that Great Stuff.
Cool. So, any questions for us? I saw actually one, but this is a chance we're going to open it up for any questions you may have for Tracy and I. We'll do our best to field them, and if we can't, we promise to follow up with you in some other way. But any questions you may have for us, anything at all, course-related, content-related, practicalities, or what, please do share. We'd love to hear. So one from Jane, how do I become trained to run a local course? So you can email intensive@pachamama.org, but consider yourself flagged as we will find you to get you information about how to run a local group. We'd love to talk to you. Can we speak more about true democracy for E?
I think I would wait until after we do the democracy module rather than go into it more here. So module 6 is about that. So rather than go any further into it now, then I think we should do it then. The other thing is, on our final live community gathering, we're going to do our best to bring Bill Twist, one of the founders onto the call with you, and he loves to field questions like that also. But I'd rather do it after you've had a chance to see what's in the course already.
Somebody's looking to develop an AWD for children. Any ideas? Do you mean ATD?
Awakening the Dreamer.
Awakening the Dreamer. What do you think, Tracy? Anything to say about that?
Yeah, sure. The people, just would you write that question into, what is it? What's the question? info@pachamama.org?
What's that?
How do they reach us? Info@?
Email. Intensive.
Intensive@pachamama.org. So if you would just write it there, I'll be able to respond to you with some links that I think would be helpful to you.
So just so that you know, people have taken the Awakening the Dreamer and applied it to different contexts.
Mark Spain just answered. He said,
great.
just Google Jump Up in Australia, because that's where I would have sent you anyway. Jump Up, J-U-M-P-U-P in Australia, and you'll find about a phenomenal program that's been created.
Jim asked, do people have to have participated in Awakening in order to be in this conversation? And Ariel responded, yes. The Awakening the Dreamer Symposium is a prerequisite for the course. And
I think, I don't know if you all know this, maybe we haven't really announced it yet. I don't know if you know that the Awakening the Dreamer is now available as an online course. This is brand new. It hasn't been public announced yet. But so for future Game Changer Intensive participants, if they can't get themselves to a live symposium, they'll be able to take an online, it's not quite the symposium, but it's all the videos and many of the messages from the symposium in a 2-hour online thing. So that's kind of brand new and wild.
Somebody said, is it all right to translate some of the material into Japanese for our facilitators?
Hi, dozo.
You speak Japanese, don't you?
Fluently, no, but I do know how to say hi, dozo.
The answer is yes. Keep in touch with us. Maisa at pachamama.org is a wonderful person to be in touch with. Maisa at pachamama.org. She manages our international work. She would be, if you're not in touch with her already, you should definitely be in touch with her, or intensive@pachamama.org. The answer is yes.
Positive videos on Facebook sharing has been great adjunct to the course. We'll let our social media people know that it's working.
Great.
Thank you. All right. I think maybe.
Last call. Any other questions? Going once. Going twice.
Okay.
All right. So I want to talk to you a little bit about tuition. Now, we were really conscious about not saying that the intensive is free. We actually say that it's voluntary tuition. And what that means is that you decide what you feel like is appropriate for taking this course. We are about halfway through, a little less than halfway through. And as of today, there is now a donate button available on the homepage of the course. And actually, Ariel, if you don't mind, go ahead and share the link that people can use to donate to the intensive. I highly urge you to be part of what is really a movement of people that is making this possible. The reason why we are all here is because some group of people decided to give their financial resources to make this happen. This is really, a gift. Somebody gave this to us to make this possible, and really encourage you to think of how you can be part of that gift. And at the very least, to contribute something that really reflects what you're getting out of it, and what you plan on getting, how it's going to live with you into the future. Some of these courses cost hundreds of dollars to take them out in the internet. We're really committed to making it accessible to folks who maybe aren't ready for that. So really encourage you to donate. Click that link or visit our homepage. You'll see a donate button there. We will bring this up at the final live community gathering. I'm actually hoping that Lynn Twist will join us for that. We will be bringing this up again. It takes money to make this course work. There are software licenses, there's cloud storage, there are people. All of this takes money, and it takes generosity and love from you to really make this happen. So we really invite you to use that link and donate.
And I want to say, it's beyond donate. We are asking you to pay a tuition. We're just not telling you you're not. Now, at some point, we may find that's impractical, and that we're so used to only paying what we quote have to that people don't pony up, in which case we'll have a tuition on the course. But we love the idea of voluntary tuition, so please do it. Yeah.
And actually, I'm going to say, if you intend on doing it, do it now. Do it literally right now. We're, in the last few minutes of this call, click on it, pull out your wallet, and follow through on it now. Nothing like actually following through on an instinct this is actually action. This is a way, the way you spend your money is positively a form of action in the world. So this is a great opportunity to actually do that.
Okay, logistics, what do we
expect? So your next small groups, which will revolve around evolutionary activism, will be next week, always Sundays, Mondays, or Tuesdays, depending on your group. Every Tuesday, in case you haven't noticed, we release a new piece of content. So look out for Tuesday at 6 o'clock Pacific time. Next week, we'll release a case for grounded optimism. A key thing, we have learned so much from what feedback has come to us. Please, 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 we beseech you to let us know what you think, good or bad. Just hearing from you does a lot for us to validate that we're going the right direction, or to retool and try something new. On the homepage of the course website is a feedback button. Please do use it. Let us know what you think. Anything in detail would be wonderful. It makes a really, really big difference.
And I will tell you, this is the 9th time we've done the intensive. Here's the thing, you guys are getting a better intensive than the people who did it before, because you have the benefit of their feedback. So we are continually fine-tuning, improving, but we're doing the best we can over here. But the more you give us real-world experience and input and feedback, the better we'll keep getting it. So we do invite you to help us keep making it better.
Somebody asked how they can click the button, so I'm just going to put that button right there. If you're interested in donating, you can click this button right on the home screen right there, and it will open up another window so that you can engage in it.
Okay.
Somebody asked how much. That's up to you in lots of ways, and I'm going to invoke the stretch zone. There is a comfortable amount for you, and there's some amount that's definitely obscenely too big, and somewhere in between is something that is a challenge. If you need some grounding of, what does this look like, we estimate it costs about $100 a person to put on this course, so keep that in mind. Maybe for you, $100 is nothing. Consider, I think the biggest one we've gotten is $5,000. Consider what is available to you and make it operate within your stretch zone.
Okay, we're coming to the end of the call. We do want to give you that little bunch of time so you can jump to Module 3. Kind of got a free 15 minutes in life now. Is there anything else logistically?
Nope, that's it. Enjoy Evolutionary Activism, which was released yesterday. It's available on the course website.
And enjoy the rest of your intensive. Enjoy the fall. Enjoy your life. And let's change the game and keep getting ourselves deeper and more beautiful human beings doing this work. Thanks for being part of this.
Thank you, folks.
Love you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Oh, thank you, Mario. See ya.
Bye.